I was trying to go live on my computer, but it didn't work. They wanted me to download some software last minute. So I'm here. I hope I didn't create any confusion. I'm just going to quickly go back and let people know where I am. So they're the ones that are waiting. Just a moment here. I am having technical difficulties. They want me to download a software. But it's taking too long. Right now on my phone, you should see. And I'm now currently live. Oh gosh. Of course, I'm so bad at it. You'd think I would be better at technology by now, but I'm not. And I really need to do a crash course, or I definitely need some help in this if anyone wants to help me. Just a lot has changed since then, right? Back when I was doing it, and I was doing it pretty raw. When I was making videos, I was just like not editing it, or it was nothing fancy, no particular photos or anything. I see I have one person watching and liked. Hi, how are you? Are you able to comment back? Were you also the one of the people that was waiting for my other live that I was trying to do? Let's see how this works, if it's just gonna pop up on my phone or what. All messages are visible, but I don't see anything yet. Yeah, so I was attempting to do a live Q&A, but how do I do that if I don't have, I can't see any of the messages of people. Let me just check to see if people are still, yeah, 4 likes, but they're not there anymore because I didn't show up. I tried, but technical difficulties. So if anybody has any advice on this, please, trying to go live on your computer, them wanting to download a kind of a software, and yeah, that takes a while. So, it's actually been a year since I've done a live, around exactly to this day, which I find kind of funny, but I really want to get in the habit of doing more lives. And hello, 2 people watching now. Are you able to comment? I want to just see if any of your comments will show up on screen. Just say hi if you are able to. Otherwise, I might have to adjust some settings or something to see a comment here. Let's see. I'm sure. Can you hear me okay? All live chats, but still saying okay. So I can't see any of your messages, so am I just going to attempt to just talk to myself? But yeah, it's been like a year since I've done a live, and I'm still not good at it. Oh, hey! Hi, Scott! Yay, it works! Thanks for testing it out with me. So were you waiting on the previous live that I had pending? Or did you just see this and decide, hey, I'm going to jump on and say hello? Oh, okay. So, well, welcome anyway. Are you familiar with any of my previous videos? Do you have any questions for me? Oh, my hair's pretty messy right now. That's how I do a live. Hello, second person. Sorry about this kind of last minute style. Like I said, I did have another video going live, but it didn't work on my computer. It wouldn't let me go live, so I'm here trying to correct it on my phone. And checking to make sure the comments work as well. But let me know if you're one of the people that was waiting for that other live video and found that I got my message on that I'm doing it on my phone instead, that I had to make another one. And hopefully you can comment. I know YouTube is sometimes a bit of a stickler. Hello! How are you? Thank you for joining me. Last minute. I did try to give some warning. I did. But yeah. Do you have any questions for me? Now let me see if I can say your name right. Preliminal. Oh, we have 3 people now. Oh, wow. So feel free to ask me any questions. Like I said, I'm sorry for the technical problems. I haven't been able to sort out, so we're doing it this way. Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm actually I did an interview recently with the North America Ringing Cedars group, and they have some really exciting news in that field of the books, and just bringing them more to the masses and bringing more readers together, which is something I'm very much looking forward to, and also looking to help in whatever way I can. They've got the blessing from Vladimir Megri, the author himself, and he's very excited about what we are doing in North America with the books and spreading Anastasia's teachings. And yes, I very much enjoyed reading them out loud to everybody. I just wanted to make sure that, since a lot of people don't like to read anymore, that if reading out loud would be, something that, because we're now this podcast generation, and so I just thought this is a way that I can still, get people to connect with the books and this message. And I will attempt to do voices and impersonations as well, and have horrible sound quality, which I don't know. I didn't know that it would record that horrible beep every time, and because I didn't listen after recording it, I just kind of posted it as is. So I could try to go back and edit it, I guess, but then I have to repost it and things like that. So it's quite a hassle. Though sometimes people brought up, oh, you skipped something here, you missed something here, which is very easy to do. So then I did correct that as best I could. And it's reached a lot of people, which I'm really happy about. I just, it was during lockdown, and I'm like, what can I do for people that will really help them at this time, that won't get censored? And that's what came to me, and just reconnecting with her message myself, because I actually found those books a long time ago, back when I was a young tree frog in my early 20s. So, and they made me write all this amazing poetry and travel and connect with so many beautiful people, and really, really connect and even communicate with nature, which is what a lot of poetry and my messages are about, and just help others to do the same. And just, like I said, remember, connect us to our birthright. Like Anastasia says, when people meet her and see how incredible she is, she's always, they say, oh, you're a goddess, you're an angel, you're an alien. And she's like, no, I'm human. I'm what you guys were supposed to be had you not lost your connection to nature. So I just think that's really, really profound, because we're so used to giving our merit to everything outside of us, but here she is giving it to being human, and that we have this within us. All of us do. We just need to reconnect with ourselves, with our nature, and know that's what we are. And that's really what the cabal fears so much, and that's why they're trying so hard to disconnect us from nature and trying to disconnect us from ourselves and who we are and what we're capable of. Like, that's what they're afraid of. For us to realize that we're all one, and then they can't stop us. because they know they're running out of time, and they know that we're awakening, and they're just really big bullies. I have another person here as well. Again, welcome, and do you have any questions for me? Or I will just, I don't know, just start sharing randomly of whatever comes to my mind. Oh, 4 now. Hello. I hope these were the people that were waiting on my previous live. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. I did put a message in that group, so hoping they saw it and didn't get discouraged and leave. Yeah, so I just really wanted to connect again. I was working in the film industry and pretty busy with that, and then it just, being in Canada and then passing a bill recently, C11, actually is doing a number in the film industry, and a lot of people were let go, and I was one of them. And I just take it like, okay, the universe wants me to do something different, and they want me maybe to connect back to doing what I used to do. And the kind of work I was doing in the film industry, though, was pretty cool. I was a coordinator for animation and VFX projects, Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilms, all these kind of shows, Netflix projects, which I'm a big nerd. I've always really was fascinated how movies and animated shows were done, and also, I guess, wanting to get into it because I saw how powerful stories were, and how I understand in the spiritual realms that it's like a currency, and thought that, you know, I could work my way towards there, working more on my left brain, doing something more grounded. And because we live in this world the way it is, and we have to be grounded, and we have to always exercise our balance of our right and our left brains, not choosing one over the other, otherwise that makes us into a half-wit. And it was very challenging for me, because a lot of trial and error in that kind of an industry, because I also was not used to having a boss or a structure, or liking the idea of being a cog in a wheel and all of that kind of stuff. And just, it's just so not, like, organization actually is not my strong suit, but I just kind of pushed myself to work at it, and started to get a lot better. And I was working my way up to becoming a producer, so I would have more say and pull in pitching shows and ideas later on down the line, things that would help awaken people. And so that was the plan, but the universe is like, yeah, sorry, we have another plan for you. Whatever you're wanting to do, well, yeah, that's not happening anymore. So, I could look at it as be upset and be like, okay, I'm screwed or whatever, but I'm really grateful for having my dad's brain, I'd put it as, because he was very, like, if one thing didn't work, then another idea came, and another, like, just inventing things and just thinking out of the box, and there's so many different things you can do. So, but also just knowing that we come to the planet to do certain things, and it's to awaken as many people as possible, because life is like another dream. Waking life is a dream, right? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. It indeed is. I've talked about that quite a bit in other videos. And particularly how things are right now, it's more important than ever to awaken people, or help them remember what's really going on, and who we are and what we're capable of. And yeah, like, we hear this all the time, we're in this together. I couldn't stand hearing that from the governments all the time, but we are in this all together, and we need to all work together to get out of it. And I'm really proud, for when I was speaking, that a lot of people that are now speaking are speaking because they used to follow me and got guidance from me and coaching from me and looking for a purpose and what their mission is and things like that. And sometimes, it doesn't appear right away. Sometimes certain things need to happen in the world or in time that bring clarity. Like I use the example of, imagine explaining to someone in the 60s who becomes a computer programmer that that's what they're going to be doing, that there's no way to, it's tricky to describe computer programming to someone from the 60s who has no reference point, right? Or to explain someone about the everybody being online and then the kind of censoring that we are to encounter and finding ways around that. So yeah, so I'm proud that I helped pave that way for these people that are speaking now. And I thought I was done, but apparently I'm not, because I'm still here, and I still have a lot in me and it's just a strong fire and fascination when you see people and you see their potential and you don't understand how they don't see it, and how can you get them to see it, or why are they not familiar with their blind spots, or why are they not interested in their blind spots, particularly when it causes so many unnecessary problems for them. And if people are just mirrors for each other, we're like cars and we all have our blind spots, and others can show us those blind spots, right? I think that's fascinating, and I don't understand why other people don't find it fascinating. Oh, Preliminal has something to say here. Yeah, I guess I could read that out loud. So you remember being located at the outer edge of Sagittarius arm until 2016. And then you found yourself in a parallel Earth in the Orion Spur. So, I mean, in this case, what's going on and how these things are possible, for one, because from other people who might not have heard of such a thing, they might think that's quite bizarre and out there. But, this lifetime is very important. Earth is a Harvard University for creators in training, and we are probably going to graduate this incarnation. That's what we're here to do. And so every lifetime we've ever lived, human and non, have prepared us for this life in which we are living, every single one in this one simultaneously. And it is possible to be aware of parallel lives, or working with people who are star seeds. And well, technically everybody is a star seed. No one is from Earth, because everything is made up of atoms. Religion says we come from Adam, and science says we come from atoms, and there's only one place that atoms come from, and that is the stars. Therefore, everyone's correct in this way, just different interpretations. So, but the thing is, some people remember this and others don't. And so that's the difference between a starseed. Starseeds remember. And memory is a funny thing. I am always fascinated by it. There's like some kind of gnome or fairy cord in my head that decides what gets to be a memory and what doesn't, what we get to remember and what we don't, and why don't we get to remember it. A lot of times it comes down to, can you manage it mentally? Can you manage your own personal life and a past life, or a future life, or a multidimensional life, or a life in between life? Right? And a lot of us can't. It's not easy. It's so easy. You can get caught up in so many different stories and experiences and memories, and then it becomes quite emotional. And we do need to focus. So you're in the hospital when that began. So are you talking about a near-death experience, Preliminal? Oh, okay. You know what? I did get to ask the North American Ringing Cedars groups, Gabrielle, if there are any more books being planned that I know of the Ringing Cedar books, and I do know there are. There's been a delay for several reasons, but they are doing their best to bring them out to people, and particularly English versions as well. So there was a delay there too, and then there was, let's say, other powers that be that didn't want them out, those books out there, so they've greatly tried to delay them, hence why it's taking so long. But they're working through that as fast as possible. Because I asked that question too, particularly about what's going on in the world right now and what her views are on all of that. And also I asked them, it would be interesting to know or have a graph or a chart of where we are right now in being carried across the dark window of time that Anastasia also refers to. It's like, are we in the beginning? Are we in the middle? Are we near the end? You know, because I definitely feel that it's going to happen. It's absolutely true. But when and how, right? Like, we know that, like, I don't like when I say like all the time. I feel like a valley girl and I'm not. Okay. I'll try not to say it, but now that I'm aware of it, I'm probably going to say it more. Anywho, where is I going with this now? Just sidetracked. Oh, it's gone. Thought thief. Had a flow happening. I do feel like oh yes, I feel like we've won a lottery in which that we are awake at this time. And I'm fascinated again also why some people are awake and others are not, or some you're so sure can see it and they don't, and then there are some that you wouldn't think see it and they do. And I think that we didn't wake up for nothing. We didn't wake up just to be wiped out or to become a Borg or whatever the Cabal wants for us. And something worked really hard to awaken us early on when I traveled the world speaking to people all about their stories of awakening and how, you know, it happened usually when they were kids, or they remembered past the amnesia veil, or near-death experience, or some kind of synchronicity or parallel. There's so many interesting stories about how and why people are awake. And remembering a lot about lives in between lives, it's fascinating to know how it works, in which there are a bunch of guides or councils working with us and trying to, and also remembering that too, working with people on how to awaken them, but dealing with the world and the consciousness that they're living in is very tricky. So if you give them too much too quickly, they can end up in a mental institution or something and they can't function in this reality. They divorce reality is what I call it. So finding that balance and that synergy to be able to get that information across while maintaining sanity in an insane world as well on top of it, because, you know, life is challenging, but, you know, there's nothing given that we can't handle, so we must be masters. After all, we didn't beat 500 million sperm for nothing. We won that race. We probably have something very important we came here to do. So yeah, so we're awake for a reason. And we're awake to plant seeds, and we're awake to awake others. And this is a very exciting time to be alive. And we are here to not just witness this, but facilitate it. And so that was basically what I was trying to remember. I'm glad I did. And so I have some more comments here. Let me see. So from Preliminal, I guess Quantum shifted or transferred to his version. Maybe I switched place with the person who was here in Orion, and now they're where I was in Sagittarius arm. So that's very likely to happen. I know that's bizarre for a lot of people, but if you understand about the movie, Avatar is quite accurate to what's really going on when we're asleep. We have a whole other life that is taking notes and discussing about the situation of their incarnation as an avatar and how they're doing, what they need to work on next, and how they're going to penetrate this world, this matrix, to have some progress. Of course, you can also have another group that has the agenda to completely make just nothing but problems for the avatar and to destroy that world, because they have their own benefits to protect the matrix how it is as well. So just like the second one, which I didn't like as much as the first, just because it was more, let's say, elegant and conscious compared to the verbiage of their kids, talking like street store sort of style and like swearing and slang and all that. I was like, oh, Atari was much more elegant the way she spoke and put things. But anyway, going back to what you're saying. So there's possible, our soul has, has more than one body. Sometimes it can be working with or occupying or seeing through. So, and not necessarily just on Earth. So you can have moments where you can see or experience through another being, even in another world, like you're describing there. I'm very familiar with that. And you have to look at it from a bigger picture. You have to look at it from the director's perspective, is what I like to call it. Working in film, I have all these great metaphors to describe the quantum world or the spiritual world, how it works behind the scenes. And now you have a bit more here. So parts of geography isn't the same here. Parts of history, anatomy, my ancestry, animals, the moon is different here, people, alterations of all kinds. Everything is similar, yet indications show I'm not in the same Earth. Okay, so those are parallels happening, but then that also makes me think of some dream realms or even astral realms. When people are in the dream realm, they're in a familiar place that they know. Oh gosh, I have two different conversations going on that are like one wants to talk about ring cedars and the other one wants to talk about quantum things. I'm gonna do my best for both of them, so just bear with me. Okay, so in the dream realm, you know this area, you know this place, you've been there, it's your house, but it's not your house. There are things that are very different. Same with astral travel. When someone goes to a place they've been before and it seems like Earth, but it's not. It's like another dimension, or their sight changes. That's also parallels, where it's the same Earth, but there's there's little differences that make you think maybe this isn't Earth. I'm in a different place. And all these parallels are supposed to basically implode on itself and just kind of go into one again. Because right now we interpret it as separate fragments, which is the linear mind. But when you're in a dream or astral or the Twilight Zone, it's the non-linear mind. And it's harder for people to understand through a linear perspective. Okay, back to the Ringing Cedars. Okay, I loved your Ringing Cedar readings. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so happy. I wish they're better quality. I know there's a lot of noise and distraction with my cats and things going on. I wish I could have read it out in nature, but I wouldn't be able to preserve my battery on my computer to do that. But I'm glad still that people got a lot from it and a lot of views I never expected. But I never think about that. I just think about, nope, I'm going to share. I need to share this. This is important to me. It doesn't matter if I'm reading for hours and I lose my voice or I trip over all the words. I got to get it out. So that's kind of just how I am. Oh, you loved when I'd inject little tidbits of truth regarding the pandemic or other topics of interest. Thank you. Some people like that. Some people did it. They're like, just stick to the story. Why do you have to do that? Well, I can't not be me. And when I have to say something, I'm going to say it. It's actually painful for me not to say it, what is on my mind. And and that's a double-edged sword, because it constantly gets me in trouble. I cannot lie sometimes, and it's like my mother's like, you're the worst secret keeper ever. Like I can't trust you with anything, so you're just gonna blurt it out. So yeah, that's kind of just how I am. Yes, the Ringing Cedar people do all seem to be awake, and I would love to just find more people that are awake that don't know about the books and just bring them together. And I just think these two worlds are sadly still a bit disconnected. They need to just realize that we're all working for the same goal. I think all these spiritual communities that are happening all have pieces of the puzzle, but we're still so separate, and we need to all come together, particularly fighting the beast that we are. The fact that there's still so much separation in the spiritual community, like I've experienced with some organizations here that I was involved with, that suddenly, like they're mostly quite religious based, but then someone came in that was spiritual, and they decided that no, that spiritual is not of my truth, so therefore they're dark. I don't want to work with them, and only I want to work with people who have my belief. And I was like, wait a second, we're fighting a Goliath here, And instead of fighting Goliath, you stop and you start attacking the people in your group that are trying to help you fight the Goliath. I was just like, what the heck? I can't believe this is going on. I can't believe they don't see this. Like, is this really ego? Like, this person's so sure that they're have the truth and that they're doing the right thing, and I guess they're keeping their group pure or whatever, but it's dwindling the numbers. And, you know, yeah. That's what I think we need to do. We need to all work together. Hello, Tones Deaf. Welcome to the chat. Any news from George K? Wow, George Kavasilis. I haven't heard that name in a long time. Now, you probably know I did an interview with him a while ago, hey? But then I think that interview got taken down. But impressive memory. No, I haven't heard from him. Last I heard, though, was that he thought the Earth was going to become a sun or something like that. And yeah, I hope I'm not taking it out of context. But of course, I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't heard from him in a long time. We've lost touch, basically. I like how everyone's creating a community here and getting to know each other. That's really cool. It's harder to talk when one bites one's tongue. Yes. No, I actually know what you mean by that. You're basically stopping yourself from saying what you want to say. And like, that's what's also the film industry. Like, when you're trying to when you read a script, there's this thing called reading between the lines, because what the character's saying is not actually what they're saying. What they're saying is what's in between the line. We live in a world, a society, where we can't say what's really on our minds. We can't say the truth because most of the time we feel like we won't be understood, or they won't understand it, or they'll take it the wrong way, or it's too vulnerable of us to expose this information, so we have to beat around the bush and bite our tongues and hold back and all that. But I don't want to live that way. I've always wanted to be an example. And even though I'm also shy to be in the public again as well for some reason. So it's also I'm reaching out to you guys to help me with this, to get out there again. Because of the amount of shitstorm I've attracted. When you shine your light, you just attract a bunch of BS that wants to basically contain your light all to themselves. Or I sometimes called it being a Tinkerbell, and they want your pixie dust all to themselves. This is very weird. But anyway, let me stay on top of all the comments. Yeah, wow, really? Do you have a copy of that interview? Is there an interview of that? Some people make copies of videos before they get deleted, and they just bootleg them and put them under other places, like my Project Camelot interview. The website went down, all the interviews went down, but a lot of people made copies of it. There's different languages or subtitles, and that was just wild. all the different languages my video had. So it's like, it's there for people who want to find it. Same with my interview with Lilu Masse. So, yeah. If you do know of a bootleg copy of it, I could try to find Jessica Schaub and George Kavasilis and see if I can see anything. Sometimes I do that, but other times I get too nervous too. I tend to not look at anything I've ever done, as far as like, I won't watch any of my videos. That's why I don't edit. I'll just put it up as is and that's it. Otherwise I'm going to overthink it. I'm going to criticize myself. I'm going to be like, oh, you're making this weird face. I always make weird faces when I talk, particularly when it like freezes. It's just great to see, like, you know. But yeah, again, it's organic, it's natural, it's not airbrushed, it's not changed and altered to some idea of perfection, so I don't care. So yeah, and even like all my poetry and all my blogs, particularly the Bali blogs, which have gotten, I don't know, so many people have read them and given me, like, they get upset that they're finished so fast, but one chapter is over 400 pages, so they're very, very long, but people just are so fascinated by them, and I keep toying with the idea that I should read them again and continue on with them, but I also, like, it's hard to kind of put myself back in that mindset, because if I read it, I'm going to relive everything of how I was thinking at that time, and then I'm gonna like wish I could time travel back to myself and shake myself and be like, oh God, what are you doing? Why are you doing? Because it's but really that's what the blogs are about, are me conversing with different versions of myself through time, and my perspectives and mindsets at the time. And a lot of the times past Jessica is very alien to me. I can't relate, or even yeah, that's how much we evolve and change. And it's not like going forward, it feels like we like to think it's going to be like that, but no, it's like loop-de-loops, and like playing the game Snakes and Ladders, where you're doing really well and you step on a freaking snake's head and you're back at the beginning. Or then randomly you land on a ladder and whoop, you're suddenly way up there. But again, that's also perspective and what we think is progress. We're not looking at it from the divine perspective, the behind the scenes perspective, the director's perspective. Okay, that's okay if you don't have a copy of it. I'm just gonna check it out, or someone else can take a look online and see if it is there. So I also know that last time I did this, a live video, which was exactly a year ago, I was saying, I was going to do one, I was going to be more consistent and at least do one a week or something like that, something where we can kind of build and continue on, but for some reason I didn't. And so I'm sorry about that, because I was really like serious about that and promising. So I don't want to do that again. I want to continue so we can keep this conversation going and seeing how everyone's doing and what's going on and how we can assist each other. And we're like, you're my soul family, basically. I know that I've disconnected with a lot of you, but I also know that the universe is funny like that they find ways for us to find each other again, just like it finds ways for you, if you do disconnect from your spirituality like me, to find it again. Like, it's never fully gone. That's a beautiful, comforting thing. And I describe it like if you take a seed of a tree and you put it in a metal box for 10 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 50,000 years. As soon as you take it out of that box, it knows exactly what it is when you put it in the ground, and it grows into that. So I feel the same thing for us, right? It doesn't really matter how much time. All that information is there, and it's ready to be activated anytime. It's just dormant in the meantime for whenever the right time is. Which interview are you talking about you saw years ago? The George K one? Fantastic stuff? Or are you talking about Project Camelot or the Lilo Massey one? And Preliminal again. Oh, Lilu, yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, that's right. No, I think I did 2 interviews with Lilo. And yeah, they were pretty fun. Let's see. I don't think she's been doing anything, really, Lilu. Yeah, I think she might have like stepped down for a bit, because she did a ton of videos, and then after a while, I don't know, you run out of steam, your life takes a different course, you feel like you need to take a break. There's a lot of things, Some people change completely, like Doreen Virtue, who was, very much about spirit, talking to angels and spirituality and synchronicities, and then suddenly being like a full-blown harsh, like I say harsh Christian because like just can't renouncing all of that and saying, oh, that's not of the divine or whatever. So just this dramatic kind of change, which I can relate to because I've done something similar. And I think that's just about balance and extremes of being able to explore these facets of ourselves that we think we might never go to understand. And also to know that you can disconnect from it and connect with it again. That it's never fully gone, like I was saying before. Yeah, most likely. I think last I've heard with her is she's married and she has kids and she's just doing her own thing. But it would be interesting to see everybody speak again, and get their thoughts on how they're seeing, what's going on in the world. I'm always quite fascinated by people who are spiritual and say they're speaking to spirit beings and guides and stuff like that, but then they ended up getting the what, I can't say it because I'll get censored, and I'm just kind of like, what kind of being would say that? Like, surely they would know to advise them not to get it, that it's a trap, but we're all on our own journey. So we're not really one to judge. Some people realize afterwards, and then they feel, great regret and remorse and everything, and try what they can to make it right. And it's not like you're completely screwed. There are things you can do to undo the damage. There's a reason that they want it to be constant. Rather than just a few. They want to keep that kind of stuff in our body. I'm trying to be very careful what I say without being censored. Okay. Hello, Pax1390. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm just gonna, I don't know, go off in my own world and ramble. Yeah, wow, takes me back. That Lila Mace interview, right before I did that, I don't know if I should tell you. It's kind of a funny, embarrassing story, but like right before that interview, I had a very, very long bus ride, and I got stuck in traffic, and that bus got stuck in traffic, and I had a lot of coconut water, and they wouldn't let me off to go to the washroom, and I tried to distract myself by reading a book, and it was all about water. And I think there were some guys on the bus that were checking me out, and but I had to go to the washroom so bad, and they wouldn't let me go. So I don't know what happened. Something happened with my bladder, and I peed so much in that green dress, in that interview, all over that, and just basically had a big puddle going down the bus. I can't believe I'm sharing this publicly. Anyway, I'm very good at embarrassing myself by telling people this stuff. So anyway, yeah. I had to quickly rush to a friend's place to clean my dress and a shower and everything, but because like everyone was so surprised by just the amount of puddle I had. But see, nobody knows that about that interview right beforehand. But yeah, that's real. That happened. Thank you. Yeah, I know it's been over a year, actually a year to this date practically, that I had this idea again, and I'm going to try to do it once a week and be consistent of that. I tried to do it on my computer, but it wouldn't let me. I don't have the software or whatever it wanted me to download, and everyone was waiting, and so I had to quickly send a message and say, oh, okay, I'm gonna try to go live on my phone because it works better that way, but I wanted to do my computer. But oh well. I do not think the New Age teachings are mostly evil or demonic. I think that that is a sad misconception that a lot of religious and Christian teachings have. I think there's a lot of similarities with Christianity and spirituality that for some reason Christianity wants to be more exclusive with it. Like, for example, Reiki and energy healing and all of that I've heard is demonic and evil, but Jesus did laying of the hands, and it's the exact same thing. I think we just have different words for things, and it's there's just a lot of people that believe that only if it comes exactly from Jesus that it's good, and I don't agree with that. I think that that's a way to put people in a box and not be able to grow and see the similarities. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't evil or demonic in spirituality and New Age. There is. It's in everything, unfortunately, and that's why we need to have discernment. And then there's things that aren't evil but aren't good, where it could become something that could be turned into evil, which is what I've witnessed. Or like that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's another thing too that tends to happen. So an example, abusive relationships. People have this idea that, well, they get into it because they meet this person and they think, well, he's got these issues, but if I can be unconditional loving to them, because that's what we're taught to do in spirituality, and that's like everything's all love, and be forgiving, and also realize that, well, I chose this. They teach that I chose this, therefore my soul wanted this to happen, and so I somehow deserve this. This is a vicious circle. So basically the abuser's like, wow, I can get away with whatever because they're always going to forgive me. They're always going to love me, and they're always going to say it's their fault. right? So it's a gaslighting thing. So this kind of thing where, you know, you're trying to go about it a pure way, but it totally backfires. Or you have this idea of negativity. I don't want to hear that, what's going on in the world or your views on this, because that's negative. Well, no, it's reality, and you have to face that. You can't just hide in a bubble of what you think is positive and that's what you're only going to manifest. No, regardless of what you think, like your thoughts creating reality, it's not enough. Just like if praying was enough, what everybody prayed for would come to be. There's not enough. We need action, we need understanding. There's all these pieces of the puzzle that are missing. But to be like, tell people something and they interpret it as negative is frustrating, and it's creating a lot of blindness in a person and biases. So it's like telling someone that they live if they live on the coast, for example, by the beach, and there's a tidal wave coming, you're telling them that you're being negative. No, I'm telling you to do something so that something's going to happen unless you act right away, so that you don't get hurt, you know. But this is kind of the thinking I come across with all the time, and it's quite frustrating. And so that's also why I stepped out of spirituality and got people to question it. It was mainly, I was no longer telling people what they wanted to hear. Not that I've ever done that, but I was much more gentle, and here it was a lot more firm. I may even say harsh. And also I was influenced by Diego. And so taking on his approaches, which were quite harsh, which is definitely not the right thing either, right? It's just, it's fascinating that I was advising people about being in cults, that I myself was in one and I couldn't see it. And I was like trying to help people walk them through like understanding the patterns and the process, and how to get out of it, and how to get your mind back from it once you get out of it, and all that kind of stuff. Because getting out of it is one thing. Getting your mind back out of it is another thing, because you can still be in the thinking of as if you're still with that person or in that community or whatever. So it's fascinating. Hang on a second here. Okay. Wow, PAX 1390. 10 years. I know I've been out there for a while now. I guess I was trying to think when I started, when I put myself out there, and it was sometime in my early 20s. My bangs are driving me crazy. I wanted to make them short again, but I haven't been able to go to the hairdresser yet, so I'm just gonna try to fold it away. Yeah, I know, and I'm trying to do it again. Like, so I'm here trying to ask you guys to help me out. I don't know how to go public. I don't know. I'm shy. Things have changed a lot since then. I've changed a lot since then, but one thing I know from just the mass layoffs in my company in the kind of industry I'm in, that the universe wants me to speak again. And so regardless of however shy I am or my own stuff, I got to get past that, because I mean, that's what I did before. I refused to let it make me into its bitch. So, you know, I just let all the fear take a back seat, because the message was always more important. But I do need help and advice on how to go about it. Yeah, plans out the window. That's right. You know, that saying, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. It's so true. And they really just don't care what you want. It's like, okay, so we do that, which makes me think, well, destiny versus free will, which is it? I mean, it's like, are they in a boxing match? Are they duking it out to see which one wins? And so whoever wins, that's the direction it goes. Or do we have a script? Do we choose a bunch of things, but is it like vague? And is there flexibility to realize, like the Truman Show, that you're being watched and there's your script? But once you realize that, once you're conscious of that, like once you know you're dreaming in your dream and you're lucid, you can change that. I think that's the same for waking life, because waking life is also a dream, like I was saying before. Going to catch up on comments again. Hello, Jacob D. Are you an empath and have ESP abilities? I am definitely an empath. I advise a lot of empaths. And yes, I have ESP abilities, but I don't like to talk about it because it puts me on the spot, and then I have to show it. And I rather surprise people and let it just come in its spontaneous way it likes to come about. But then manage that as well as it does, and try to live as a person as well. Oh gosh, there are so many spiritual traps, PAX 1390. Oh my goodness. Like, the spiritual industry is a billion-dollar industry, by the way. And probably if I was better at business and actually cared about business or even making some kind of profit, I probably would have been quite wealthy. Because I had over 1 million followers, which still blows my mind. And I don't like to call them followers. It was just people that felt connected to me. You guys weren't followers. You had your own mind. I wasn't telling you how to live or what to do. I was just sharing my experiences. So I don't like that idea that I was a cult leader, because I wasn't. I didn't have a community. I wasn't telling people how to live. So, so yeah, I forgot where I was going with this. Traps. So I've met a lot of spiritual leaders, and it was really sad to see that they were just looking at this as a cash cow, a gravy train, and it's really hard to step away from or even question what you're doing, and if you really are helping people, or if you're making them more blind and biased to you, or allowing yourself to be on a pedestal when that's not really right. But because you have this power over people, and they look up to you so much, they see you so advanced, it's very easy to be intoxicated by this idea and to stay in it, because you're basically a god or a king or a queen to people. And I didn't like it. I thought it was very weird. I didn't like being on a pedestal. I share that story about being in Spain and giving a speech in front of 800 people and seeing how they're looking at me like I'm above them. I couldn't stand that. That was super weird. And I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, like they're under some sort of a spell. I really just wanted to be seen as me as a person, and not this spiritual guru or this angel or anything above anyone, because what I have, everyone has. You know, my bags. And yeah, that's more important, is just empowering people constantly to realize that, and not putting anybody over you or better than you or anything like that, which I constantly saw people doing with their gurus, or spiritual teachers, which, for those of you who really know me and my background, then you know what I'm referring to. But so yeah, in Spain, after seeing how they're looking at me and everything, and like knowing they're under a spell and wanting them to snap out of it, I have 3 brothers, and I'm a tomboy, and the thing that popped into my head to do to snap people out of it was to do a really, really loud burp for a long time, and very animated with my arms out and everything. And when I was done, I decided to be cute, point to my translator and say, it was him. And then he was like, well, no, it wasn't. It was you, Jess. And just when I was about to say, well, of course it was, I hear, how dare you accuse Jessica Mystic? It was you, you pig. And that was also really fascinating, because they clearly saw that I did it, but they refused to believe I could do such a thing. So they created another reality in their head, a story they told themselves, in which my translator did it and I didn't. And so that's another big trap I see, is like these, not idolization, but this biasness, this alteration of memories and stories and lives, because of something we want to be true, or someone we want to believe in, that will tell ourselves this story or idea of who they are versus what actually happened. Like, I have so many stories about the dangers of spirituality. Even just being in Bali in 2012 and seeing all these people from the Western cultures coming to Bali for spiritual workshops of all kinds, very bizarre, very out there, whatever they can for the big shift that was supposed to happen. Remember that? And even trying to recreate the movie Eat, Pray, Love, to the point there were shops that had outfits where you can dress just like Julia Roberts in the movie, and the same bike, and ride in a rice field on the bike and get run over by the love of their life, just like in the movie. Like, they really thought that if they recreated it, it could happen. And there was a massive bus that took all these women to that same spiritual advisor in the movie that Julia Roberts they used for her. And he basically told everyone the exact same thing. But anyway, when people realized things didn't shift the way they thought it would, versus what they were being convinced to believe the shift would be like, or even just their own ideas of what they thought it would be like, expectations versus reality, that's a big one. You gotta always watch out for that one. That's something you can be constantly learning about. Even me, I'm constantly catching myself with that, and it's a lot of work. But like those women, those people ended up going into mental institutions. The mental institutions in 2012 in Bali were full of Westerners coming there thinking that basically divorcing reality. And I felt responsible for that because I'm an empath and I care so much and I want to help. And if I want to do the right thing, if I'm not doing the right thing, then I want to know and I want to correct it. And I will confess that to the world, and I will do what I think is, you know, do what I can to make it right. And that's basically kind of in a nutshell what happened. And I'm getting, there's all these comments that I'm missing. So let me just quickly take a look and see. I was working in animation and VFX for Disney, Marvel, Netflix, and stuff like that as a production coordinator, but because of C11, it looks like that industry is being killed here in Canada. And so it's very likely that I may not be able to go back into it after the company did a mass layoff of a bunch of people, and I happen to be one of them. And aside from mourning that idea of a career and also being able to, this idea of being able to tell people stories or pitch ideas that would help awaken people more, also knowing just how difficult it was to work for someone and just to have a boss and be told what to do rather than doing my own thing, which is what I've mostly done my whole life, that it was like, okay, what do we do now, right? And it's almost like this, the universe is like, okay, no, you did that for a bit, but we want you to go back into your spiritual work. So we're just going to take that from you. And now you're kind of forced to, because it's so easy when I'm working, I'm so busy, I'm so caught up in other things that I'm not paying attention. I'm not really giving my attention to other things that I could be like. I could be splitting my time better, but no, I'm so immersed in what I'm doing and wanting to do it right and not make any mistakes, but yet I always do because I'm a daydreamer and I'm stubborn. I want to do things my own way. I don't like to be taught. I like to teach myself. And yeah, so that's not always a good thing. And overly honest. And so putting my foot in my mouth, also very good at. So no, I'm not. So that's also, I'm doing these live videos again because I want to reconnect with you guys and I want help on how to go put myself out there again and speak again, which I am shy. I have blocks about doing this again because of all the things that came with it and the BS that I've attracted and had to deal with. But I'd like to think I've matured from that and learned a lot from it and will definitely not make those same mistakes again. Okay. Preliminary. What can cause a person to transfer to a parallel Earth? I'm wondering why they put me in this Orion vision. Is it an extension realm? Okay, well. A lot of things can be the reason why you would transfer to a parallel Earth. Sometimes it's just your guides wanting you to see and expand your perspective on what you think yourself is from zoomed out rather than being in a micro perspective. There's the macro. There's a benefit towards your soul growth. Sometimes it's just a glitch. You're not supposed to remember, but something happened and you did. There's a lot of reasons that could be. But I think in this case, it was on purpose and it was beneficial for you to see that and for you to realize how vast and interconnected we are with those other realms as well. They're pieces of ourselves that we need to reconnect with. We think they're something outside of us, but no, we have to look at it as, again, a micro of a macro. The planet is a biological living being. The human beings are the cells. You know, the cells in our body are not aware maybe that they could speak to our body directly, or they are, but we aren't listening, right? So there's this disconnect. There's this idea of separation, but we're actually one. But just imagine if we could talk to ourselves individually and ourselves could talk back, or they could shrink down your consciousness and why are you giving us crap to eat? Why is all this chemicals? You just imagine what they say to you, right? So It's just important to zoom in and zoom out constantly to get a better perspective. Same as why it's important to travel and to experience how other people live. Get out of your bubble, get out of how you think things are, and see how other people live, how other beings live, what life is like in other worlds, how different it is to here, how similar it is, why the necessity of coming to Earth at this time, and why it needs to be so challenging, and what the benefits are, what they're lacking in those other worlds, why they admire, why it's like so appealing to be here at Earth at this time, or just have a body and have five senses, where we tend to take that for granted and want to reach those other, the sixth sense and beyond, where spirit has that and it's not as appealing as the five senses. Don't you think that's interesting? I do. Yeah, don't make myself a target. Good advice. I'm trying not to be, but it tends to just happen. Like I said, it's like Tinkerbell. I felt like Tinkerbell, and people just wanted to keep my pixie dust, my magic all to themselves, my light. And I'm supposed to be for the world, I feel. I've always just wanted to share and nurture and look after the world and uplift or do whatever I can. I mentioned the Truman Show. Reminds me of the meme of the boy and his father looking up at night, and the boy saying, "How do we know if those aren't air holes?" Yeah, it could be. So there's that huge flat Earth community right now, and I'm more thinking that Earth is a hologram, so it depends on what the collective's perspective is at this time. So it could be anything, right? So I just think that we need to just step out of our ideas of ourselves and our character, this role that we're playing, that we think we are, that we're lost to, because we're constantly doing that. I really think we don't have any idea of what we're doing. We just see other people doing things and we're like, okay, well, I don't know how to be a parent, but I have my experience, which I don't want to have because it wasn't a good one, of my parents. But I see these other people, how they're doing it, so maybe, I could try it that way. And I think a lot of us are just mimicking or playing these characters and these roles and getting lost to it and forgetting that we were playing a character or role. And so I like to just remind people, like, who were you before you took on this identity or this belief? Even as a kid, I can remember like going to church all the time, and if I was good, I would get candy and rewards and love and praise and all that kind of stuff, particularly if I could memorize Bible chapters. I still remember it to this day. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, stuff like that. But I remember like that it was nice. I was accepted and loved, and so I got this idea that that's how you fit in and that's how it works. So I just like, okay, then I will just keep playing this role and being good and doing what they want and reciting this stuff. And you pretend for long enough, you forget that you're pretending and you become it. And so that's the case for a lot of people, even in the acting industry, the Stanislavski method, where an actor loses their mind to the character, like Heath Ledger with the Joker, that he had to go to a mental institution to get his mind back from the character. That's how powerful these ideologies are. And yeah, so we have to be aware of how often we're playing characters and we're giving our full self to it. Like even just with this thing that everybody's being forced to get, and how much they identify with it now and think that's who they are, or illnesses or things that people struggle with that they just start to identify with. I'm trying to be careful with what I say so not to be, again, censored, but also I don't want to offend, but I also want to be myself and honest. Yeah, the human condition is very weird sometimes, but it's also good to understand it. So the more you understand it, the less you can fall into the many traps that are constantly happening around us. It just has to make us sharper. Like, we can't spend our whole life meditating in like monks do in a cave in a tunnel far away, because you're not living in the world. You're not really managing your mind, and you're not managing and exercising it with all the traps and being able to understand and navigate yourself through the funhouse mirrors. It's a lot of work. So it's amazing how we trick ourselves, how we deceive ourselves. We want to be honest. We think we're being honest, but then we're not honest with ourselves. But we've convinced ourselves we're honest with ourselves. I think single-ply toilet paper is very spiritual. Easily get in touch with my inner self. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but sure. Move to America. You know what? I'm very tempted to move to the States. I absolutely love the States. I was recently allowed to go back to the States because there was this big thing where you couldn't go unless you had this thing. And I don't have that thing. I never will have that thing. And I've never, ever had that thing, thanks to my mom. She made sure I never got any. And yeah, so now the border's not checking that so much, so I could go, and I hear they're lifting that ban, so likely, but I find the States so fascinating. Every time I go, there's shops, the things they have, the way the people are, I find they're more awake, but even then there are a bunch of people that aren't awake, but they just simply don't care. They're just, whatever the government's going to say or do, they're going to do the opposite. I just really like that. I also find it a little bit bizarre every time I cross the border and there's like bullet holes in the traffic signs. I'm just like, yeah, definitely in the States right now. But I think it's so beautiful. It's so fascinating. Like, even like you guys have this thing called middle school, like, wow. Even though I'm not in school, I don't know, just the little things I think is pretty cool about the States, and I definitely want to travel there. I've had several offers to move to like Florida and stuff like that, and I had to figure out how to make that work. I don't know, marry someone who's American. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, that's what my shirt says. So this is actually from the creator of Druthers. Before he got into doing Druthers, he would make these shirts and cards and do what he could to uplift people. And I used to like do spiritual coaching with him, and we talked about, his purpose and stuff like that. And apparently, like, sometimes it just doesn't get revealed until certain things happen. So when this pandemic happened, he was able to come up with a way to get past censoring by doing Druthers newspapers. And they're started in Toronto, Canada, and now they're all over Canada and all over the world. And I don't know, I was just thinking, what should I wear? I usually wear green for videos, but I was like, you know what? I really want to wear this shirt, because I was working in the garden all day today too, and this is one of my work clothes. But I was like, yeah, I like this. I'm gonna stick with this one for everybody, because this is the message I have for everybody. Yes. If you're dyslexic, this is perfect for you, because it's completely backwards. Just like me. It's okay. Daughters of Lilith, it's fine. There's like, it's recorded and it will be up, and so you're not late. And I'm gonna be doing more. I'm gonna try to do once a week so we can keep going and have this kind of community, and we can just keep sharing and growing and learning from each other. But I like in the Lord of the Rings, where Gandalf says, a wizard's not late, a wizard arrives exactly when he means to arrive. Just have to say that to the right people. Like, don't say that to your job, your boss, or anything like that, but, it's all good. Aw, thank you. I just like to share. Right? Like, flowers like to bloom, and they like to share their beauty with the world, or share our light with the world, or share our insight or our perspectives with the world, and yeah. No worries. It's, like I said, it's recorded, so I know it's late. I can try doing one in the day next time live, and we'll see. Yeah, I should be able to. Yeah, to be continued. Yeah, I'm kind of tanned. It finally is sunny here. It hasn't been sunny for a long time. We've had constant rain. They're just messing with the weather constantly, and to make us think certain things. But then there was this weird ad I saw that, like, they control the weather. So if you want to guarantee you're going to have a sunny day for your wedding, you can pay a certain amount and they'll make sure that it's sunny. Is that trippy? I mean, they've been able to control the weather for a long time. They've had access to time travel and cloning since a very long time. Like, most, well, since the 40s is a big catalyst time of when they really got very much in touch with this, and the movie Metropolis is like a message that they had for each other. They do like to communicate with each other in movies as well, just like with the showing them how they've perfected cloning with the movie The Boys of Brazil, which I've actually not seen, but I just know this somehow. Let me see. True cognitive capture, social pressure, consciousness cap. Yes. Metaphysically suppressive forces. Yes, a lot. A lot. We've got to be aware of that. We got to know how that works. The arrow curve. An arrow curve flies over the curve of the Earth. An aeroplane flies over the plane of the Earth. Well, it depends how you see it, right? It's perspective. Forced to get credit cards? You know what I'm talking about. Forced to get rolling up sleeve and forced to get that. Yeah, blue flyers clarifying what it is. Worth being a dungeon master in DD is a good way to get out of one's own character. It makes you forced to create a world that is many characters. Yeah, so that's what I kind of think God is doing, basically. It's just playing, it's wanting to play as many characters as possible. It's wanting to understand from as many different perspectives as possible and experiences as possible, because it's a soul being refined through time and learning to be responsible for your decisions and the ramifications of them by playing out and experiencing all there is to experience. So when you do fully become conscious or lucid and are aware of all these things, then you're a much more, because I think we're creators in training too here on Earth, so it makes sense that we have all these parallels happening simultaneously, right? So, and we are playing many characters at once. A lot of us are mothers, daughters, sisters, lovers, partners, people. We're different people when we're at work. We're different people with our friends. Certain friends bring out different things than others, right? So those can be considered different characters. And then if we take on this identity when we are in our beliefs, fully led by that, right? So can be considered different characters. And then there's different incarnations so yeah, learning and understanding. I use cash all the time. I don't use a credit card or a debit card if I can help it. I think that I think it's France is kicking ass with just using cash for everything. So when the stores were like, no, we're only doing social credit now and all this, and we're only accepting cards and banning cash, they're like, a bunch of people like went to the shops at once and like filled their carts with a bunch of stuff and then went to checkout, and checkout was like, we're not doing cash. They're like, okay, well, I only have cash, so I'm leaving all this. And then the next person did the same thing, and the next person did the same thing, and they were forced to reinstate cash. And I'm really happy being here in Canada and seeing so many people around me constantly using cash, even people that I don't even think are awake, but they're just using cash because they just like it and they want to just keep it alive, and they can see that it's dying. But yeah, and it also makes you keep track of your expenses and how much you spend. I find with a card, it's just, it's scanned, and then you kind of realize later when you check the bill, you're like, oh crap, I spent that much, right? Here you really have to like count everything. And I really like using change too. I'm sad they killed the penny. And in Bali, I remember they killed the penny too. And what they would give you for change instead of actual change would be candy. So it's like, what the, okay. Bizarre world, right? But yes, cash is very important. Use it. If you're not, that will keep the social credit system at bay. And like, if enough of us do it, stand up to them, they can't continue on with their BS. You paid cash for your college art class? That's awesome. Usually they don't accept that. And now I think I heard in Europe, if any of you are in Europe, that it's like illegal or something to take out $1,000 of cash, and if you do, they want to know exactly what you're going to use it for and stuff. And like the banks are being pressured to ask why people are wanting the cash and all this stuff. It's so ridiculous. They're so pathetic. I can't stand them. They're just ridiculous. Just go away. Just trying to make it as ridiculous as possible before they wake up. People wake up like, what if we do this? What if we do that? Will they then do something then? That's kind of how I see it. Good for you if you're able to manage without a bank account. That's awesome. More power to you. Even more like Rick and Morty. Hey, he's going off grid without it. He doesn't even have a social insurance number. Yeah, you know what? The U.S. has become a shadow of its former version that you grew up in. So much has changed, right? I mean, even in Canada, even coming back after all these years being out of the country and just seeing the changes is very shocking. And as a kid, I didn't really have any friends my own age, just like grannies that taught me how to knit and crochet. And I was just so fascinated about the last 100 years of life that they lived. Not that they were 100, but they were like close, like in their 90s. And just the amount of changes from like no technology to ton of technology, no rights to a ton of rights, and just how much their towns changed with all these developments and cities from being farmlands and all of that. Like, that's just wild. And all this kind of destruction that can't continue on. We just can't continue living this way. We talk about sustainability all the time. That's not sustainable. Being in Bali and watching them tear down a bunch of forests and jungles to make a yoga studio, which is all about breathing, but trees are the lungs of the planet. So it just feels like such an oxymoron to me how backwards we are constantly. And then seeing the hypocrisies in spirituality and in other beliefs as well, and just getting so frustrated with that. Particularly being awake first, if you've been as awake as, I'll try again. Particularly being awake, if you've been as awake for, like I have, as long as I've been, it's even more frustrating, because I feel it's like being forced, like tied to a chair, forced to watch a train wreck in slow motion is how I describe it, because you know that you can't do anything unless it's a majority rule world, voting, whatever, if it's legit, which I don't think it is. It's most definitely rigged, everything, even down to your micro towns of your mayor and governor and all that stuff. They've got that down. I've noticed that. I figured that out because I tried to run and I saw how rigged it is there too. So anyway, it's super frustrating being awake for a long time and seeing this and knowing this was going to come. Like, even remembering in 2010 when I was traveling and talking about the H1N1 and how they were going to push injections and stuff like that, and then seeing that as a trial period and see what works and what doesn't, and then launching this later on. So knowing about this stuff for such a long time, and the fact that so many people didn't see it and just traveling and just trying to focus more just on just building people's vibrations and helping them remember who they are, and kind of going about it that way as a backdoor to wake people up. But then you know what, that's the good thing about what's come from this, is that it woke up a lot of people, and we can feel less alone in that way. It's sad that a lot of friendships and families have been broken up and torn because of this, because some see it and others don't. But new friendships and new soul family come out of it as well. And like I said, I've never seen more people awake than because of this. But then, like, it's also fascinating to me how they can see it so clearly for the stuff with the arm rolled up, the sleeve, and but they don't see it for the countries. I guess I can say it without getting in trouble. Ukraine and Russia. Or they don't see it with the gender agenda with kids and stuff like that. See, one thing is okay, the other thing, no, that's the government's telling us the truth there. When did they ever? Okay, like, when people have a hard time saying that, oh no, the government would never do this to us, or their leaders or whatever, can you just give me one example of when the leaders actually cared about the people? That they didn't screw them over or exploit them? Just one? Throughout history? There's none, because they've always done that. So what the heck makes you think it's going to be any different? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. You know what I mean. You can relate. Anyway, bought by China. Yeah, well, so's Canada, right? And so's US, and so's Australia. It's all like, whatever. Their house of cards is going to fall apart. Whatever. They've lost. They know they've lost. They just know the people don't know they've lost. So they're trying to milk it for all it's worth. So Wisconsin? I've never been to Wisconsin. I'd like to check out Wisconsin. I just want to do a road trip across the states. I just want to see all these states. I definitely want to see Montana. So I just hear it's so beautiful. And every time I've gone to Arizona, which is 3 times, the first time was to be interviewed by Project Camelot. The second time was with the Hopis. The third time was with David ex-wife and hanging out with the Sacred White Buffalo and this kind of prophecies and stuff like that. And I never went to the Grand Canyon. Every time I said I was going to go, I didn't go. So I really want to do that. It just makes me think of the Simpsons story. It's late. I don't know. I didn't have... okay. Well, I was just thinking about... This is just like that time I could have met Mr. T at the mall. The whole time I'd say, I'll go a little later. I'll go later. And then when I went, they said he just left. And then I asked if they'd ever see him again, if he'd ever come back. And they said they don't know. Anyway, sorry. I had to get that out of my system. And you spent the rest of your childhood in Canada and we had middle school. Really? I didn't know we had middle school in Canada. Where in Canada are you, if you don't mind sharing, Daughters of Lilith? You're not in BC, are you, by any chance? Because I would love to find more of my soul family in BC again, because I've lost contact and touch with a lot of you. And quite frankly, it's been quite... Even though a lot of people are waking up because of this stuff, I've gone to rallies and stuff like that, but it's still quite lonely, I have to say. It's really hard to meet people and just connect and have friendships even, because so many have fallen away and people are at their lives and they're busy, and I'm not as busy, but I can make myself busy with my mind and stuff like that. But yeah, so I would love to just connect with more people in close by, or yeah. I lived in Toronto and I didn't like it. I just really didn't like it. It just sucks. It's too much of a city, really overtop, pretentious city. But that's what I experienced when I was there. And even being out in like the outskirts of Hamilton, it was, I don't know, a bit more industrial and stuff like that. I do have a cool story about a teleportation when I was in Hamilton. We'll see. Maybe I might tell that another time, or you let me know if you really want to hear it. The people who go along with MSM's narratives are on urban coasts and in very large cities. So yeah, because people in small towns and people living off grid, they don't even watch TV. I don't watch TV, but fortunately, like, it's everywhere in your face all the time, wherever you go or what you do. If ever you go into some sort of civilization, it's there. So you can't really escape it, and it's not being negative to see it. It's like, that's reality for a lot of people. What are you going to do about it, right? Ignoring it, not watching it isn't enough. We got to do more, something about it. Because we need, like, there's a lot of people that want to go off grid and just not pay attention to this stuff. But I think, like, the more they're making it very hard for us to even go off grid and have our own, like, Kins domains and Anastasia communities and stuff like that, because you can't just kind of go off and do your own thing and expect the problem. That really expensive, all these stupid red tape, and yeah. If your artist friend Charles is in Toronto, he published your art on Webzine. Oh, that's cool. Oh, you'll have to send me some of your art. I'd like to see it. I do have a cool artist friend in Toronto too, and she does kids books, kids illustrations. Okay, I'm trying to keep up with all the comments, so... Like a neutered fire grows and reaches outward. Neutered, not nurtured. Ah! Wow, what a fun brain. Okay. Where is that at? Have I talked to Anastasia lately? I haven't talked to her for a while. To be honest, I used to talk to her quite a lot early on when I first read the books and saw the poetry and insights, a lot of things that weren't in the books or that I'd like to call subtext in between the lines of the books. I would like to connect with her again. It does kind of feel far away from me right now. I do feel by reading the books again helped me to connect with her more, and then also connecting with the North America Ringing Cedars group and seeing what they're doing, and just being able to ask questions about more books, where like and what the holdup is, and are there more books? And yes, there are. There's just a big delay for the English translations and just the powers that be that don't want it out, basically. So trying to slow it down instead of stop it. And yeah, and just trying to understand where we are at exactly in her carrying us across the dark window of time. If there was a graph or a chart, can you draw it? Can you show it for us? I don't want to repeat because I said that earlier. I should have brought water or some sort of drink with me, but I didn't. The cards are coming next. Reverse ATM machines. I don't know what you mean by that. Can you clarify for me? Brilliant analogy. Well, she got it, but I did not. Pennyworth. Well, Pennyworth could maybe be a boy guy too, because I think that's that clown from It. It is. Okay. Bear with me. France did force the cash. Yeah, France is kicking ass if you look to see what they're doing and how they're fighting all of this. But there's a lot of like, I don't know, they're really, really fighting and rebelling with everything. And then I found out with the Dutch farmers that they created this big thing like the Canadian truckers movement with their protests. And I'm going to talk with my hands and be Italian now for some reason. And with that momentum, which what we should have done in Canada, they ended up running for government, and they won because they had just everybody, all the attention and people, you know, cheering them on. And if we would have did that in Canada, things would be so different because it just ride that wave, right, of everybody watching us and everyone who supporting us rather than us breaking down that big force, that tidal wave we created, you know, them being terrified of that. Cavities and diabetes. I'm not sure what you mean about there. Keep it real. Physical is less scammy. Yeah, debt makes it too loose. Candy change. Well, I've never been a fan of debt, even for like school. Like, I don't want to pay for an education. I don't want to get in debt for an education. No way. Life is an education. Education is for free. Or can I work and like learn hands-on skills rather than sit and write down facts and come off an assembly line and say the same thing as everybody else? So I've always been this way. True banking industry is impossible and pathetic. Yes, it is. I heard from one of Jason Shirka's interviews that the banks are hundreds of trillions in debt. Yeah, actually, I was watching a Jason Shirka video right before doing this one. Disclosure, because I realized I haven't caught up and watched them all. I was trying to figure out where part 5 is. It's apparently in it, like kind of hiding in a weird place, so I got to figure that out. But yeah, they're in debt. They're running out of money and they're terrified. So they're trying to like make all these reasons or excuses to charge us more and to kind of siphon it out of us, we the people, and even trying to prevent us from going after our bond. I'm sure a lot of you know what that is. JP Morgan is massively short on gold. Well, so is Vanguard and BlackRock. If it reaches 192 ETF, stabilizes and goes to 5%, then JP Morgan, one bank, America's bankrupt. Well, yeah, they're all bankrupt because, well, cash is just this fantasy thing that we mutually agreed to, right? To just make ourselves as slaves and live in their BS system that's built on a faulty foundation. So, you know, they got us relying off of it and only knowing no other way how to live. And now they're like holding that for hostage and taking it away. And people are terrified because they can't imagine a world outside of that. But we never had it to begin with. And so, you know, faulty foundations got to fall apart sooner or later. Build a new and better one. Tied to a chair. Yeah. Tied to a chair, forced to watch a train wreck in slow motion. Or, another metaphor I have for it is playing Twister in a thorn bush. Yeah, the fog lifts as we get closer. Well, okay, so you know the words revelations and apocalypse are actually the same. Like, people are terrified of these words. It's a scary chapter in the Bible, Revelations, and Apocalypse Now. We have these movie references to have this relationship with words. I've always was fascinated by the origins of words, and etymology, if I'm saying it right, or entomology, one of them. One's the study of bugs, and one is the study of words. So yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, those words both mean come to light of what's been hidden. And that's indeed the time that we're living in, where all the secrets are coming out and being revealed. And so they can't hide anymore, nor do they want to. They're just constantly showing us and mocking us to our face, right? Of, oh, we're so stupid, we're not going to figure it out, da da. But yeah, the fog is lifting. And we're just the ones that have been awake early on, like me and so many others, have been just paving the way to prepare the world for this, you know, and for others that would awaken and help kind of mentor them through it, because it's very traumatic and shocking at first when your whole paradigm collapses and you see the world for what it really is, no matter how ugly and unpleasant, you know, and being able to navigate your psyche through that and your emotions through that, and to be able to still think clearly and not fall into fear and not to fall on all the distractions and all of that, or try to overcapitalize on it. And yeah, there's a lot of potholes after that too, but again, regardless, we're pioneers paving the way, and it's an exciting time to be alive. I didn't predict it. It's a pattern that you could just become familiar with. You see, you know, how they work and what they do and the timing of things, and they foreshadow a lot in film. I guess that's why I really like film and animation and TV shows, because it just shows and tells you so much, and I just could always see it and see what they were doing through that. Like a really good one is the V for Vendetta, particularly how it ends with everybody awakening and just refusing to play along with this totalitarianism, if I can say it properly right now, which I probably can't. Glad to hear that, Preliminal, that you refused the jab. Didn't trust it. I'll never take it, ever. Never had any. All my entire life, my parents were awake and made sure I never got any. Not about to start now. No, we shouldn't have that in our body. Our body has everything to take care of us. Natural immunity all the way. Gotta be careful with what we're saying. Censorship. We're from the government and we're here to help. Yeah, for sure. Sounds like a Simpson quote. Yeah, it's so weird how people get mad at you for not getting it, like you're selfish or something like this. What a bizarre form of gaslighting, you know, like you're doing such a disservice to humanity, and now they're realizing, oh, we were wrong, sorry, you know, forgive us, let's move on. No, no, you've destroyed people's lives, and you've forced people, you've held everybody at ransom, and oh god, I have to pee so bad, and I'm live. What do I do? Do I pee and come back? Like, will you guys wait for me, or should I call it a night? And yeah, anyway, let's try to make through these comments as well. But, because if you were here for the Lilo Masse interview, I can't hold it as easily anymore because of, yeah, right before it I broke my bladder, basically, and greatly soiled myself. Come to San Diego. Have I been to San Diego? I have, a long time ago. Oh, I like it there. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, but I hear super liberal. But again, there's a lot of awake people paving the way out there. And commendable for not leaving, even though it's a heavy blue state, that not taking off to one of the red states. But standing your ground. Let's see. The only leaders I can remember that cared are all legendary figures that seem shrouded in myth. Well, myth and legend are all, I believe, true, and they're just making us think it's myth and legend and something intangible and far away, when, you know, actually it's truth is stranger than fiction, and the more out there it is, the more, like, they think, oh, that's fiction, so no one's going to believe it, but it's always been true. Or, you know, good leaders that ended up being killed because they stood up to things. So, there's those ones, but I mean, just the higher up ones, like, just, come on, people. Anyway, I ranted quite a bit. I'm sorry about that. I didn't expect that, but that's alive. It's organic for you and comes in all different shapes and sizes, forms. Ontario, GTA Hamilton. Oh, you're in Hamilton. Did we meet when I was living out in Hamilton? Oh, my teleportation story. Okay. California, Santa Cruz. maybe I went there too. Yes, I did. I'd love to go back. I'd love to go back. With the restrictions lifting, I might go. We'll see. A penny. Okay, the teleportation story too, but I have to go pee. Okay, a band recommendation. Okay, I'll check them out. Oh, I have a message held for review. Let's see it. Okay, I think it's okay. Hello, Jessica from Brittany Academy. Community, social norm, mystical like you, one breath. It's fine. It's beautiful. Why would that be held for review? The USA is planning on going cashless in July and installing machines. You put cash in and a MasterCard or Visa pops out with a $5 service card. Yeah, well, if everybody refuses to use that and just uses cash, then just like they did in France, then that can't work, right? Yeah, the Dutch farmers are amazing. Iceland kicked the bankers out a while ago. That's right, I remember that. I was very inspired by that and like to share that. Also how they respected ferries and that they wouldn't even, like, all the workers, like construction, they weren't allowed to build any area that was considered a fairy court or nature spirit area. They had to build around it, which I always thought was super cool. We do need more alternative media to report reality. There is a lot of people doing that too, though. It is great, but we could always use more. That which is hidden. Okay. I'm looking for Trump. I'm looking forward for Trump and Biden to be arrested by the end of this week. I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Okay. So yes, I understand your Beatles song quote. And I also understand Bill Hicks, but I don't know. I think these kind of things, like, that's so someone asking me about all the more traps of spirituality. Hopium is a big one. And even in the truther community, I just don't buy this white hat, black hat, Trump being a good guy kind of stuff. And that they're all arrested and they're get Mobay and all this kind of stuff. And these are their clones. And yeah, there's differences and all that. And it could be, but still, like, if they were, like, why is this continuing on if they're all arrested? I think that it just makes you passive. Sit back and watch the show. You're watching a movie and the popcorn everywhere. I can't stand this, to be honest. I think that this is when we need to be acting, not sitting and watching and waiting for something happening, like the EBS broadcasting, emergency broadcasting system. If they would have released that before they rolled out all this BS on people, then we could have prevented a whole bunch of all of this from happening, basically. If they would have had an EBS that shows everything that the leaders do, those awful things that we all know about here, I'm pretty sure, with children and stuff like that and underground, if we knew that, if that was shown to everybody, and everyone who had a phone or computer, and every screen just showed that, then no one would trust the leaders to take any kind of stuff, roll up their sleeve for them, right? So yeah, I'm sorry, I have to go to the washroom. I hope you wait for me. I'm sorry, I can't hold it anymore. Oh! Almost broke the thing. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for waiting. That feels a lot better. So yeah, I don't like that. I think there's a lot of hopium and a lot of passivity and no action, and we should be acting when they're telling us to sit and wait and watch, because the power's in the people, not in these white hats that are doing all these arrestings and everything like that. It's nice. It'd be good to think that way. Just like it'd be good to think there's a savior will come and just fix everything, or the aliens or the ETs are going to come and fix everything. No, we have to be responsible, and we have to fix things. If we rely on someone to do it for us, then we don't really learn anything, do we? Nor do we ever step into our power as a collective. It's like when you all are aware, we're dreaming, and waking life is a dream, and you're collectively lucid living and taking back your power, right? Unfortunately, it sucks, because we'd love to just think that, something's going to fix this and it's all just going to be over, but it's really all of us awakening and being like, hell no, I'm not continuing on with this. Just like that video, The Covenant. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was written by the Rothschild and Rockefeller in the early 1900s or late 1800s. And they talk about their plan that they are going to do, that we're experiencing, basically, been experiencing for the last 100 years. Poisoning us, saying they're going to offer us the cure, and the cure is just more poison and chemicals, and kill everything that we love, and weaken everything, and make us dependent off them, and all that. And then at the end they're like, but if they ever find out, that they are all one, then there is nowhere we can hide, for they will know what we have done, and the game is over, basically. So I think that's very, very telling, and the main thing that they fear, and why they're working so hard to, I like to tell people this, we should be asking ourselves, who are we and what are we capable of, that they're so afraid of us, that they've been working for thousands of years to disconnect us from our potential and the truth and our oneness and all of that, right? They obviously are more afraid of us than we are of them, just like classic bully psychology. The bully's always more afraid of the one they're bullying than the, you know what I mean. I'm trying to say it, but I can't, because for some reason I just can't talk. But you know what I mean. So yeah, so that is my thought on that. Excellent analogies. This is an ace pilot of the consciousness sea, and I feel like we are in the Bermuda Triangle sometimes, with equally positive potential. Well, the potential is what's so fascinating, right? That we are infinite, really, and we're using such a small percent, or even aware of it. Just our phones, our technology, we're only using like less than 5% of it, versus what it could be. We could do with it. And same with ourselves, our brain, our eyes, we're using such a small percentage of it, or are conscious of a small percentage of it, versus what we could do if we just looked into that a bit more. The Bermuda Triangle's interesting. The fantastic timeline between the secular and the marvelous, between worlds, fairies, functions well here. All of it existing simultaneously too, I might add. Thank you, Scream Engine. I did. And I feel great. Aw. Aw, thank you. As all the people say, go. I'm catching up on the comments, so it's probably weird for people who just tune in and see me like talking randomly and are like, I have no idea what she's on about right now. Yeah. When I was living in Hamilton in 2011, I think. Yeah. 2011, early 2012. What did Spock find in ship's lavatory? The captain's log. Yeah. I'm very immature like this, so this is very funny to me. Okay. Epstein was a member of Trump's country club. He's not a saint, or just came to the scene as a savior. You know, I think that a lot of the people that have power, that are involved in this, don't really want to be involved in it, but they're forced to, for, everything's held at ransom, if you will. There's just heavy blackmail. I think that there are a lot of people who get into politics with really good intentions and then find out that if they're going to go anywhere, they have to sell their soul. And if they don't, then something bad will happen to them or their loved ones. That's just kind of how it works. Or they invite you to a party, get you messed up, and they videotape you witnessing something horrendous, and then they blackmail you this way. So it's, it's really tricky. I think a lot of them just do, like, from what I understand, do enough just to survive. I mean, you reach a certain level of success and fame, and then they reach out to you and try to bring you into their club because they want to keep the money in a certain kind of community and power so they can control everything, right? So, I don't like, just because we've seen that Trump's been onto Epstein, on the flight log, it's, very possible that he is just one of them and is a part of the agenda. Or maybe he was, yeah, he was part of it, because you can't escape it. You're in that community, but then you also want to try to take it down from the inside. But you've got to be so careful because it's so dangerous, right? But I don't know if you're asking me how I feel about Trump. I don't buy him. Basically, let's put it that way. I don't believe what I'm hearing about him as far as being a full good guy. But, life's very, very complicated, and sometimes you have to be a double agent in order to move things along, or it's just another psyop. So there's too much information aside from the Epstein stuff that I think is more concerning about him. Same with Elon, and I just don't buy all the stuff that he's trying to say about, Twitter and pushing these Teslas everywhere. And I hate the Tesla cars. I hate them. They're just pieces of crap, and they're so bad for the environment. And just like sitting in them is like being in like a 10,000 watt microwave. It's just brutal. It's just a big scam, just to make people be all in electric vehicles, and so you can control people so they can't go very far if they break any of your rules. You voted for Bernie Sanders in 2012 and 2016. I never voted for anyone. Don't care. I don't think it does anything. It's not enough to make change. It's just, that saying that we can't solve the problems of today with the same thinking as yesterday. It's just like this, right? I think it's just this, the rat race continues. We have to just not live this way. We have to say, I don't want to live this way. I don't want to continue this way. This doesn't work. It's, even if you have good intentions, it's too easy to be corrupted and compromised, and we just have to create something, a whole other way of living and being, doing, and thinking. Yeah, that's disgusting. If he's like, I don't know. I don't follow all this because it's a lot to follow, and it's overwhelming, and it's like can be a never-ending full-time job, basically, of just videos to go through and see things that he said. So he's making comment about kids that just confirms that I just don't trust the guy, basically. Okay. The deep state is deep beneath their feet. Yes, it is. Yeah. Make a difference in our community as best we can. Okay, let me see. Okay, you do think there are some clandestine operations, but the people need to make the major move for it. Well, yeah, it's all in the people's hands. We can't ever put it above, into just a few, because it's just too easy to be compromised. Otherwise, there's too much clout on the dark side. Bribe police, judge, lying witness, clone, deep fakes. Yeah, you guys get the big. Yeah, I do. I just think that a lot of people that are really sick of it, that are involved in this in a high level, and a lot are working to destroy it from the inside. I don't doubt that. Particularly ones that have been in it and got out of it in however that they have, is, like Kathy O'Brien is a good example. She was raised in it, that's all she knew, and then she got rescued and realized, like, how much of a trip would that be? And to it's like a reverse Alice in Wonderland or something, right? And then just, what do I do about this, knowing that I was raised and did all these horrible things and witnessed all these horrible things, and these people are ruling the world, and I see their patterns right before me. How do I, like, warn the world and tell them about this, and how do I get them to believe me when it's so out there and so many people have been so successfully brainwashed, right? So, but yeah, there are so many that have had this happen, to be able to also play a part of waking up the masses. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a member of their personal club, but I'm just saying that it's possible to be in that club, but then realize, ugh, I don't want to be in this. I want to see this taken down. I will help. And I should have got water when I got up. Do I have water? I do. How long have it been sitting in this jar? We'll see. I'm just saying that even though they were a part of it, doesn't mean they're not wanting to fight it as well, because I think a lot of them are just sick of it and want it to end. And they also have their part to do. That's why they're in it. I don't think anything happens for a reason. Oh, hey, I reached the bottom of my comments. Cosmic Empress did an Akashic reading on Elon, and he came back as a 50-50 positive-negative line worker Anunnaki manipulator. I think he's a manipulator. I don't trust him. You're amazing at this. What am I amazing at? Living in this so-called reality is a game. That's why they call people like Trump or Elon the big players. Yeah, a game, a dream. So many things we can call it. The consciousness cap has been frustrating for a very long time. Thank you for your service. Thanks. I just share what I see, right? Always learning. I try to learn from everyone's views unless they're mean-spirited. Well, even mean-spirited, you can learn from their views. So I'm always been fascinated by how people think and why they think that way. And particularly if it's different from me, I try to put myself in their shoes or try to just ask a bunch of questions to see how they see. Because it's another, reality can be kaleidoscopic at times, and so we're constantly asked to change perspectives, again, to look at things from a macro perspective, not always a micro, our own individual, like, tunnel vision, right? So, non-player character, NPC, I love that, like, Free Guy, which was done here in Vancouver, which my studio helped make. A lot of NPC players here, but it's really cool when NPC players wake up and realize they can be more. You don't have to stay to your script or character or whatever, right? I find that really neat. Who knows? Who knows? It's a bunch of speculation about Epstein, you know. You just know that, you know, that opened a can of worms and brought a lot of truth and awakening to people and a direction in which to kind of dig. And so we have, right? Regardless, we know these people are awful, and it's just making their crimes be more obvious to the masses. So many videos on that. So you guys wanted me to tell you the teleportation story in Hamilton. So actually, not too long ago, it's another teleportation story. I had this white leather jacket, not real leather, fake leather, and I went out downtown, and I had sushi, and I put the receipt in my pocket. Went over to my friend's place, and it's just a small apartment, and they put my coat in the closet, and had it was like some sort of like crypto meeting, I guess, but I don't know. I'm still on the fence on crypto and what I think about it. 50-50 still. But anyway, after that, I went to grab my coat, and my coat wasn't in the closet. I checked my purse, I checked all over the house. It was nowhere to be found. It was so weird. There was a white coat, but it wasn't mine. It didn't fit, and it was like a cloth sort of fabric. Looked kind of 80s looking. And that was the only white coat. And I was like, what the heck? Where did my coat go? There's only so many places it could have gone, right? It was just so bizarre. So I was forced to take that coat home, which I absolutely couldn't stand. Because it just reminded me of my coat, and I wanted my coat, but it wasn't there for some reason. no one took it. No one else was there. Just my friend, and they were there the whole time. So it's just like, what the... Anyway, fast forward to 2 weeks later. Oh, by the way, I got rid of that stupid coat because I hated that coat. And they said it didn't, no one's using it anyway. So I don't know why that coat was there. Burping, how elegant. And, yeah, 2 weeks later, going through my closet, and at the bottom of the basket was my white leather jacket. With the receipt in the pocket of that night. So, what the heck happened there? I freaking bilocated the jacket. Like, I looked everywhere for it. I didn't leave it with it. No one saw it. No one brought it back. How the heck did it get in my closet folded up to the bottom? So anyway, I was telling a friend about that, who lives in Toronto, and she told me the time we were hanging out, and I brought her out to Hamilton, and there's this forest by around Mohawk College area, and it's really beautiful, but it's surrounded by traffic. No matter where you go in this forest, there's traffic. You can hear it. And I led her down this path in the forest, and it was just beautiful. It was like this meadow of yellow flowers and this clear blue sky. It was also raining a lot that day too, if I remember correctly. And she just told me this. She's like, I remember when you did this. I didn't even remember this. And she said, so we went down this path, and there's all these flowers, and the sky was clear, and it was so beautiful and so quiet. We couldn't hear any traffic. And it was like you bilocated us to another world, and it was just amazing. We spent a long time there, the whole day. And then when it was time to go, you led me back through that path, and then immediately it was raining, and the traffic and everything you can hear, and we tried to ask around if anybody knew of this path. No one did. There's nowhere you can go in the forest where you don't have rain, or like traffic, or even just, I don't know, a chance to experience any kind of sun, particularly on that day. So she was like, yeah, you just bilocated us to another location in space-time. And I was like, oh crap, I don't even remember I did that. So I was like, this is the second time I did some sort of bilocation thing. And I told my mom, and my mother was terrified about me bilocating her, because it happened like when you weren't meaning to. It just happened just randomly, and and it's just like, what the heck? So anyway, that's the bilocation story. I have 2 bilocation stories. So Pennyworth, I'm gambling with crypto. Will be ×3 by August due to an intense Pluto transit. I am. And a lot of people are very successful at it, particularly the people who got into Bitcoin in the early stages are like billionaires. Like, they're so wealthy now. But yeah, like, I don't know, it just kind of sounds like social credit system. But then I talk to people who have studied it a lot, and they say, oh no, it's designed to keep people and keep the government away from our money, and to just let us earn in our own way, and to not be controlled and all that. And so I hear that side as well, and I just don't know still what to think about it. So I haven't done anything there. But we're back to Trump now. I think Trump just made a deal with people who promised he'd be president, and that's why he did what he did post-presidency. It's possible. Like I said, there's a lot of blackmail, and, you know, people looking one way and then being another way. So Pennyworth, sounds like you timeline skipped to a different universe. It's possible. I wouldn't be surprised, but like, I have just bizarre things happening frequently, so I'm just like, eh. Well, I'm sure if I spent enough time around you, I'd have far-out experiences too. Yeah, apparently people who I've met from my past, they have some wild stories about things that I've done with them that just happened just because I was around. I don't know. So that Tinkerbell metaphor for me is maybe something there to it. I don't know. Pixie dust! I'm not high. Don't do any drugs. I'm a blonde. I'm naturally high. Do you remember 4 people or 6 people in JFK 1963 assassination? For me, it was always 4 people, and it was a black, white, never in color. In 2016, I saw many absurd changes like this. I don't. I don't remember 4 people or 6 people in the JFK 1960s. I have heard a bunch of different stories about it and speculations about what actually happened. I know that they killed him. I think that's just the only thing we really need to understand, exactly how and why, and the bizarrities of it. You know, a lot of, that's a lot to keep track of. So, but yeah, basically, he tried to speak out and warn the people and gone. Probably same with Marilyn Monroe. So you timeline skipped and experienced it firsthand. I'm not surprised with you, Preliminal, with the things you shared with me. Not surprised at all. I think a lot of people have. I think just people don't remember it. Because, there's like this fairy council that decides what gets to be a memory and what doesn't, what we get to remember and what we don't. That's just the way I like to explain it. Crypto isn't going to last for sure. But due to the American banking crisis, it will reach its highest point in July or August. Yeah, I hear that. I've thought about crypto not lasting. If they shut down all technology, then crypto's gone and all that. But there's people that are saying it's definitely going to last. It was built to last and survive all this BS and all of that. I've heard that it was built by people who are anti-government. I heard that it was built by the government. So it's just hard to say. It's really hard to say. Or just different coins coming out all the time and so forth. Yeah, that's also kind of why I'm careful with sharing these stories, because it can be profoundly ungrounding, and that's why I don't like to focus too much on it. I just kind of I just think it's interesting, again, just how bizarre life is, and just how there's so many things that we don't know, and that we could, just when you think you understand or figure it out, then life pulls the rug out from under you, and there's still just this whole other layer level to keep going and understanding, and that we never stop growing. And to watch ourselves when we think we found the truth as the end-all be-all, because that's when you become stagnant, and that's the worst thing I think we can do to ourselves. Curious if you've read the Bible recently from front to back. Is that a question for me? I have read the Bible from front to back when I was a kid, not recently. Don't really want to. I just don't trust a lot of that's in there. I think it's very easy to be changed and compromised, and if I was one of those evil mofos, I would probably do that, alter that book. So yeah, I don't trust it. There's a lot of stuff in there that is super, I'm not gonna go into that. I don't know if I should. You can go on and on about all the geographic changes. I'm on a different version of Earth since I was in the hospital from February 22nd to 28, 2016. Dolores Cannon has shared some things about people being going into a building and coming out and seeing that they're in the 1960s or 1920s, or just things like this. Or even coming and seeing reality being constructed before their eyes. They kind of... if they were on a movie, they were showing up during the time set deck was there building the set for the studio. So it's very possible that, someone is mixing the timelines up on us, and our consciousness is looking at it, trying to understand it through linear mind when it's mostly linear rules. Right? The sentient AI quantum computer has crypto numbers, but the gamble is short term. I don't really... This AI thing, I think, is just a big ruse. I think particularly ChatGPT, I couldn't care less about it. I'm not going to ask it any questions. I can tell it's clearly compromised and from them, and it's a big way of them collecting a bunch of information or gaslighting us under the guise of AI. So... yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of this QFSA thing either. I think that's a big hopium, new age slash truther trap. How long have I been talking for? Oh, there we go. That's the time. 1:23. That's a long time. No wonder I'm losing my voice. Just like when I was reading The Ringing Cedars, I was like, okay. Well said. I don't remember what I said, but thank you. Hi, Shannon Christine. Thank you. Yeah, it's bottomless, stay in your center. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. In my reality, Los Angeles was located about 80 miles more north. Just one example. I mean, I bet you could write a book at all the differences you're picking up right now. Right? So, life's a great big mystery show. Keeps us like looking, you need to look at the world like a child does to keep that. To quote the Bible, only one that possesses a heart of child may enter the kingdom of God. A child will lead the way. I think there's we're talking about rights and the world being dominated by men for a long time, masculine energy, and then female rights and all that, and all these other gender stuff rights. It's just a bunch of BS. Regardless of what people say or think about me, I don't care. But no one's been more repressed and never had any rights than the children. No one listens to them, even though when they're born, they know exactly who they are, what they came to this planet to do. And usually from the age of 5 is when the amnesia veil starts to set in and they forget who we are and everything, right? So I think there is a lot to be learned from children, and there's a reason that they target children and why they're so afraid of us as children and our potential. And it must be frustrating to have all that wisdom and understanding but not be able to communicate and have to deal with adults who are completely lost in their own amnesia and their own stories and characters and stuff like that. Yeah. But I do think the child will step forward, that we will realize the merit and the wisdom of it, and that is the missing piece of the puzzle. Yeah, it's getting late. We might wrap this up. Thanks for answering. I was just wondering because I trust it, but we're pretty far apart spiritually, so figured that's why. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but of course I will answer as best as I can, as honestly as I can. I can kind of go into that, I guess, another time, because it's just a big can of worms regarding the Bible for me to go into. I'd rather not go into it tonight. I'll save it for another live, maybe next week. If the Bible's read as a metaphor, it can possibly make more sense than an astrotheology stance. Yeah, but it's not just a metaphor. There is also codes. There is also certain number sequences that are telling you something else. There is also these bizarre hypocrisies that there's only one God, and one God needs to be he's a true God, but then in the beginning God says, let us make man in our own image, and it's all plural, and there's several times when God's talking that they say God's talking that it's plural. And yeah, it's just kind of, there's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of, I can't stand this idea of, oh, kill your child for me. Oh, just kidding. I just wanted to see if you do it. You know, just want to see how loyal you are to me. You know, like, this is just really disturbing to me. Or that God wants to be worshipped and praised for everything. And I just think that that's super insecure and ego, and a true God wouldn't care about any of this. If I made a painting, I wouldn't want to be worshipped and praised for. If I made a creation or a recreation of Earth, I wouldn't want to be worshipped and praised for this. I just want to be like, okay, how can I be responsible for my decisions and ramifications, choices, and so forth? And how do I get them to care and love each other and look after this world and not destroy it and think they're entitled to it because I gave it to them to do with what they like? I like the interpretation of Emmanuel. He has shown many things out of the body. He was shown many, yeah. A lot of people they get their insights from astral travel, or from lucid dreaming, or from visions. There's so many ways information can come about. That's also fascinating. The goddess worship were the first gods, apparently, that we know of. Maybe. Looks like Luke 11:34 in the different versions. It's plain to see that King James accidentally let one slip, but gauge everything on that. No, not everything on that. There's a bunch more things. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Love to you too. So, some people have been here for a while now. The Bible needs a lot of decoding. Also, the translations are manipulated and some have bad intent. The Council of Nice removed a ton of books, bunch of slant, like the words. That's what I said before. Like, it's just, it can't be, it's been altered too many times. And also, we know what happens when you play telephone, even as a kid. 10 kids in a room, you whisper the message to in one kid's ear. When it gets to the 10th kid, it's completely different. And so the Bible is telephone throughout time. And interpretations and words and everything so many things have changed. And then I do believe a lot's been taken out and watered down and added and removed and switched around and mixed up, and other things have written on behalf and saying that they're the God, and it's different gods battling each other in the Bible itself. And yeah, and an abusive narcissist makes God sound like in the Bible a lot of the times. I have to agree with you, Pennyworth. I'm just not comfortable with the Bible. I am spiritual. I do believe in a God, but I don't believe in the Bible. I'm not a fan of the Bible at all. And all the stories. I like some of the quotes, some of the things that make you think, like the things I do, you shall do greater, or forgive them for they do not know what they do. That makes me think, okay, so he's telling us about our potential, that the things I do, you will do as well, that you have this within you. It's not just me. And I forgot the other one. Oh God, I just said it. That's annoying. Anyway, like, oh, forgive them for they do not know what they do. I think that's what I was saying earlier about people playing roles and they're lost to it. Like, we have to forgive people who are pushing stuff on us, or, you know, they're just heavily brainwashed, you know, and that's not who they are. That they've taken on this role and they're lost to it. So, doesn't mean we forgive and allow them to continue doing it to us, because that's also a fine line, right? And that's something people confuse all the time and blur the lines with. Treat others as you would have them treat you. Yeah, that's a really good one. Even though, treat yourself, like talk to yourself. Like, a lot of people, how they talk to themselves, if you have kids, for example, you'd never talk to your kids sometimes the way you talk to yourself, right? So I think that we also need to be aware of how we're treating ourselves, because a lot of us aren't treating ourselves very, very good either. So we have to watch that as well. And we've been, you know, conditioned to think certain ways, like, well, it's not good to be angry or sad or whatever. And yeah, emotions are just keys on a keyboard to create harmony. It's not bad. It's a part of us that is trying to communicate and tell us something that we can learn from, as long as we just don't judge it and think one is better than the other. Yeah, it's nice to be happy and enjoy all the time, but it's not the way. You can't live perpetually in bliss. I don't think that we're meant to, otherwise we'd be some sort of bliss zombies. I think, you know, we need to keep growing and learning and working with all these different keys on the keyboard and notes, and just not, again, identifying with that emotion fully as the end all be all, like I'm going to be depressed forever or whatever. It's like thoughts. We're not our thoughts. It's like fish. I always think of thoughts as fish, that kind of, our mind is like an ocean and there's all these things floating through, but as soon as we focus on one fish and identify it as the end all be all, then we're lost to that, and that becomes our character and our story and our world and interpretations of ourselves and so forth. If we could just zoom out, again, going back to the macro perspective rather than focusing on the micro all the time, then we can see, oh, hey, I'm in an ocean and that's just one of the many fish. I don't have to focus on just one. I can just watch them flow through me, right? Makes sense. Forgive, don't forget. Some people you can live with in your hearts, not your life boundaries. Oh, that's for sure. I learned that about some of my exes. And so you forgive, you don't forget, but you also learn and you realize the patterns, because you do that, you can recreate the same situation or similar person with similar traits that your ex, you know, so it's the same pothole over and over, for example, right? So it's also kind of fascinating how we get out of one situation and then go right into another, out of the frying pan into the fire. What are the patterns in our mind? What are the blind spots that we have that we're not looking at, that we keep recreating this for ourselves? And what do we need to do to get out of that limbo that we're in, mentally, emotionally, on all other levels, right? Boundaries, yes. Balance is another. And being aware of when you're deceiving yourself and being honest with yourself, even if you rather not want to think about it, or it's unpleasant because of all the responsibility and change. I think we have a duty to do that. We think we're doing the right thing. We think we know, but to keep questioning, I think, is the best way to go. So you just don't become stagnant. You keep growing. And yeah. On that note, I think I'm going to say goodnight to everybody, and I will come back. I know I said that last time and I didn't, but I will. I will push myself to do it. Yeah, I'll plan sometime next week. I'll try to do it in advance so you guys have some notice of when it's going to be. And I'll do it in the day next time so you don't have to, it's not so late for you guys at night to stay up. Each unique complex soul is at a stage, and we don't know what they've gone through to arrive at who they are. Yeah, everything we've ever lived is shaping us into the person we need to be to do what we came here to do, right? So, yeah. Yeah, it was lovely spending time with all of you too. Like I said, any suggestions you guys want for me to go speaking more and putting myself out there more, I'm open to hearing it. Feel free to drop me a private message, or if you want to do a phone chat with me, you're welcome to. I'd love to I'm really glad just to reconnect with you guys again. Oh god, I already talked about other planets. So you can watch the video earlier on if you came late. Like, there's a whole bunch of things I said that I'm wondering what the Ringing Cedars people think. But anyway, good night. Love you. Bye. Till next time. Don't open your phone line to weirdos. Yeah, that's a good one too. Okay, how do I end this now? X?